Okay, so welcome back to the second part of this CSS tutorial on styling form elements. As promised, we're going to be taking a look at how we can style a button or a submit button, either type, and we'll try and make that look as nice as possible. We'll, go add some properties. I don't have that planned, so I'm just going to go through and freestyle and, add any styles to it as I feel necessary to make it look a bit nicer. And then we'll talk about some of the form elements that we can't apply style to, unfortunately. I'll talk a bit about the workarounds for them, but I won't go too much into it at this tutorial. Okay, so what do we want to do? Well, we're going to go ahead and we're going to create a button. So an input type of submit. Also, we could use an input type of button. These are generally the same things, but submit will submit a form, button won't. You can apply, say, an event handler to a button with JavaScript, which is probably the more common thing to do instead of submit, but submit will submit a form. So this isn't an HTML tutorial, but there we go. So I'm going to be styling a submit button. So let's go into our markup. I've already set my font family and my font size up here. You can use the shorthand font property if you like, but I've just done them in two properties. So let's go ahead and style up our submit button. Now, obviously, as per the last tutorial, we could add a class to this or an ID. But if we're going to have like 5 buttons on a page, we would use a class, or we could target it by its type. So we've already looked at this, so let's go ahead and do that. We're going to say input type equals submit. So we're now styling submit buttons. Okay, so what do we want to do? Let's go ahead and just add some properties to that. I'll go ahead and refresh the page here. You can see we've got our nice submit button there on the page. Okay, so let's go ahead and change this slightly. The first thing I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to, I'm assuming this is going to always sit on one line. It's not going to sit next to anything. So I'm going to style it as if it was only going to ever sit on one line. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add some padding to this, and I'm going to add 5 pixel padding. Okay. Now you notice that when I add 5 pixel padding, we've got this horrible problem where there's too much padding at the top and not enough padding at the left and the right hand side. So let's go ahead and add another property to this. I'm going to add another value to this. I'm going to say 15 pixels. Now this is going to mean 5 pixels on the top and 5 pixels on the bottom and 15 pixels on the left and right. So you should probably already know that. So now when I go ahead and refresh, we've got that extra space. So, by just going ahead and adding 5 pixels on doesn't mean it's going to be even all the way around. It's going to look a bit odd. So it's always best to, triple this value here or double it, however whatever effect you're trying to achieve. Okay, so I'm actually going to leave the background default. I quite like this background. It looks nice. I also like the hover effect, so I'm going to keep that as it is. But what we're going to be doing is we're going to be changing the border, and we're also going to be changing the text inside. So let's go ahead and change the border. So I'm going to say 1 pixel solid. I'm going to change this to EEE. Notice that we've already got a 1 pixel solid border, so we could say just border color. Okay, so it doesn't really matter however you want to do it. Border color colon EEE. Okay, so we've changed that slightly. Now you'll notice that it's made this look a bit odd. Okay, so what we're actually going to need to do is we're going to need to go in and say border 1 pixel solid EEE. When I refresh, we get this odd, weird sort of looking thing. AAA. Refresh, and we can see it a bit better. Okay, so we've lost this nice effect that we had, but we can not worry about that too much. We could even go ahead now and we could add this border radius to it. So we'll just say 3 pixels there. Okay, so we've added sort of a border radius to that. We can go ahead and change the font size. So I can say font size 1 EM. And I'm going to say font weight bold. Go ahead and refresh. So we've made it look a bit, more buttony. We've changed the default styling. We've kept the sort of same background color, but we've got this border on there. We've changed the font size. Blah blah blah. The possibilities really are endless of styling things like this. But we've made it look fairly nice. And if we were to use this selector here, this input type equals submit selector, we've actually, we're actually applying this to all submit buttons. So, you know, we don't even have to think twice when we go ahead and add a submit button to the end of a form. It doesn't matter how many we add on the page, we're always targeting this same element. Okay, so we've looked at, in the last part of the tutorial, we've looked at styling up text fields. It's not really much different to styling any other element, apart from you have to, you know, be careful of a couple of things like the text area font. Now, the things that we cannot style, and I'll go ahead and create one now, are radio selectors. So these things here that we click, and we have this little dot inside. They are unstylable. We can't change, say, the background color. If we tried to, for example, let's just go ahead and try to do that. We could say background color, say black. When we refresh, nothing happens. You know, nothing's changing. We're saying input type equals radio. It is type of radio, but nothing's happened. So we can't style these, unfortunately. The other one we can't style is a checkbox, which is probably the most popular thing that we want to go in and style. So we can't really actually style a checkbox. So checkbox, go in and, well, we'll leave it as background black. Okay, we've got a checkbox and we've, unable to style it. If you did want to style these, you'd have to use some kind of JavaScript to, check things and set different values. Again, I'm not going to go too much into that, but unfortunately we can't style radio or checkbox values. So we've taken a brief look at styling fields in CSS. Not really too much harder than styling any other elements, but we've had a good go, changed a few default values, combated the text area problem, and we found out that we can't style these, unfortunately. So that's styling form fields in CSS.